Hey everybody, we are officially live. Bear with me, I'm moving some things over just a little bit. And as you can see, that's not Scott.
You sure?
You're just a little bit shorter than Scott, so. And not nearly as silver, so. So very, very excited. We do have a guest with us this evening. Bear with us as some things kind of move around. It's been one of those days. So for those of you that don't follow our personal accounts, just as a heads up, Noah was in a car accident on Saturday. He's completely fine. The other driver was completely fine. The Tucson, not so much. So I had to drive him to school this morning. Scott had to go and pick him up. Just had to pick him up from work because he was also working today. And it's been all over the place insane. So bear with us. Scott still isn't home yet because he just purchased a car, actually. This is something that we've been talking about doing for a while. And I left him so that he could go ahead and finish the paperwork. And he called me about 10 minutes ago and goes, I'm getting a loaner car because the mechanics are out and they didn't finish the inspection that they want to do on it before he gets to take it home. So it has been one of those days. So if I am discombobulated, hopefully Austin won't pick on me too awful much and we'll have a good time this evening. So basically this evening, Austin actually is a medical officer for a couple of river type cruise lines that operate in the United States. And so I thought it would be really fun to bring him in. A lot of the questions that I was going to ask him shortly. Hello from York County. Thanks, Trent. Thank you so much. And hello from Vegas. I know, Christopher, I am so jealous of you right now. But yeah, we're really excited to have him here. A lot of the questions that I'm going to be asking him kind of translates back and forth if you're doing Caribbean cruises, international cruises, European cruises, that kind of thing, or river cruising. But I kind of wanted to focus on the U.S. river cruising this evening because, one, that's kind of what he's done. And also, there's not a whole lot of people that really talk about it. So I thought that would be fun. Deb, hi Deb, thanks for joining us. I apologize, I'm going back and forth. I don't have Scott's phone with me at the moment to kind of look at the comments. So if you see me bouncing up and down a little bit more than usual, that's why. Oh, we'll be all right. So the first one that I want to talk about, there are three major cruise lines that do American river cruising or U.S.-based destinations that, I told you it's going to be one of those nights. So basically, those are going to be Viking, which actually just started in 2022, doing the Great Lakes and Canada cruises. So that's super exciting. And then there is American Queen Voyages. And then there is also American Cruise Line. So those are going to be your main three. Viking, I'm not going to get into a whole lot. They only have two cruise ships. Bear with me as I double check my notes. So they have the Viking Octanus and Viking Polaris, both of which debuted in 2022. They are brand new ships. They do the Great Lakes, and they're also going to be doing a little bit of Alaska. And so that's really exciting. And each of these ships only have 378 guests that are available to be on it at any one time. So hi, Rochelle. Look who I got. I stole them for the night.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting thing and a big difference between a ocean liner and a river cruise type because you're going to have a much more intimate experience. So hello from the living room. Thanks for joining us over there on YouTube, Mike. I appreciate it. So Viking, they have a very, very good product. They are very well known over in Europe, and I'm really excited to see how things go for them here in the United States. And if this is something that you're thinking about, their early 2023 cruises are starting out at $6,000 a person. So they are not a cheap cruise, but they are definitely going to give you that all-inclusive experience in kind of a European feel a little bit that you're used to seeing if you have been over to Europe and you've done a Viking cruise over there. So I'm going to get through these really quickly because I want to be able to talk to Austin. So the next one is going to be American Queen Voyages. This is the one that most of you are going to be familiar with because these are the paddle wheelers. Now they have 4 main paddle wheelers that do the river cruises specifically. They also have a couple of ocean liners and a couple of regular cruise ships. But for the American Queen, they have 4 river boats, which is the American Queen, the American Countess, the American Duchess, and the American Empress. Okay. Now, the American Queen is the largest steamboat that has ever been built. She is 418 feet long. That's incredible to me that a steamboat is 418 feet long. It was built in 1995, but it was refurbished in 2017, and it can hold 417 guests. So you're still going to have that very intimate feel over 6 decks, and definitely is going to be a fun cruise ship for you to be able to do. And this one, I believe, does primarily Mississippi. If you're looking to do a river cruise with American Queen, you can do couple of different Mississippi River options, whether it's the lower Mississippi down into New Orleans. That's the one that I would want to do. Those generally start out $1,800 up to $2,600 per person if you're looking for a lower Mississippi River cruise. You can also do the Cumberland and Tennessee rivers, the Columbia and Snake rivers. The Snake River is one that I would be really interested in doing. And then you can also do the Great Lakes, Canada, New England, Southeast USA, and then obviously they get into Mexico and Costa Rica with those bigger ships, not their river boats that we're talking about this evening. The American Countess is 361 feet, built in 1996, and then they refurbished it in 2020. It only has 4 decks and only has capacity for 245 guests. So if you're looking for a really intimate feel, the American Countess is definitely going to be the cruise ship for you. Now, the American Duchess is the only riverboat that has 2-story loft suites. Now, this is a pretty big deal because there's a lot of ocean liner cruise ships that don't even have that. Now, this one was built in 1996, and then it was refurbished in 2017. They have 4 decks, and it spans 320 feet with a even smaller number, I apologize, than the Countess at 166 feet. So I apologize. I actually got those backwards when I was writing down my notes very quickly this afternoon. And then the American Empress, this is the one that does the Alaska itineraries. This one was built in 2003 and then refurbished in 2014. It has 4 decks, spans 360 feet, and has a capacity of 217 guests. So definitely very intimate, very unique style of cruising, especially if you are interested in American cruise ports. This might be a great option for you without having to like fly back and forth. Now, the last one I'm going to talk about very briefly is American Cruise Line. Now, this is going to be the largest river cruising option that is out there because they have 35 domestic itineraries. They also have 15 modern river boats and paddle wheelers, as well as some small cruise ships. And most of their ships accommodate anywhere from 100 to 190 guests. Now, they can be anywhere from Maine, Snake River, Mississippi. Mississippi's a big one. Hi, Matt. Thanks for joining us up there on Facebook. You can also go up into Alaska. They really have a diverse options for you if you are interested in doing a cruise with American Cruise Line. Now, if you were interested in doing like the Maine coast itinerary, you're looking at probably starting out at about $4,800 per person. But if you think about it, you're getting a very intimate experience with only 100 to 190 guests on your cruise ship or your riverboat. And so it can be a really, really good option for you if that's something that you're thinking about. And without further ado, I'm going to bring Austin in.
Hello. Hello.
So I have all of these questions for you.
Okay.
But first things first, and I didn't write this one down, so he's going to be mad at me. What was your favorite thing about being a medical officer on the cruise ships?
So, well, first I'll just introduce myself real quick. Like she said.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good idea. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm a nationally registered paramedic here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm also an adjunct instructor for the Center for Emergency Medicine through UPMC. And I do some experience as the medical officer on some of these cruise boats that we're actually talking about right now. So the coolest thing about being on these cruise ships is just having kind of a different experience. Obviously, being pre-hospital, a lot of my experiences, in the back of the ambulance and dealing with like really crazy emergent situations. But this was a really cool way for me to learn about a different side of medicine that I haven't kind of dealt with before. They don't really teach you about in paramedic school. And also get to see the United States, because some of the things that I got to see and do were absolutely beautiful and incredible. I'm really excited to talk about that a little later too.
Definitely not Pittsburgh.
No. Although they do have, actually, American Cruise Lines has an itinerary that comes to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think so does American Queen.
I went to go see their boat, and it was really nice. So.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so the number one question that I get for anybody that is interested in doing a cruise, whether it is a river cruise or going to the Caribbean, seasickness.
Okay.
What do I do if I get seasick? What can they do to help me?
Okay. So, well, the first thing I will say that anything that I say should not be taken as strict medical advice. You should always contact your primary care provider or other medical professional beforehand. I don't work on the boats right now, so I can't afford if any of you sue me. So, disclaimer, you're all signing.
This is a guidance, okay? This is not
signing that waiver by tuning in, by the way. So, obviously, this is something that I dealt with a lot. Even though on the river cruises, a lot of the times, you don't really deal with as much motion as you would on an ocean liner, just because of the fact that you're on the rivers. But the boat that I was on in New England, we were actually in the Atlantic Ocean for a decent period of time. So I did deal with this a lot. So there's a couple of medications that I would carry on the boat. The first one, obviously, being Dramamine, probably the most common thing that people think of whenever you get on the boat. And then another one that I would carry is called Meclizine, or it goes by Bonnie pretty frequently if you would go to buy it in stores. And these medications are pretty similar to one another. They're both antihistamines, synthetic antihistamines that were made for motion sickness. And, they're just very easy to find. They're over the counter. Dramamine is a little more likely to make you sleepy, so it's not something that should be taken with alcohol, neither of them really are, but they're very effective with motion sickness. One of the things that you have to remember when you're talking about motion sickness is that it's not like other types of nausea, so you can't treat it with things like Pepto-Bismol or maybe Zofran, because it's not really from your GI system. It's actually a neurological issue, because your brain gets confused. Because
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, what happens is you're in the boat and you see that nothing's really moving, everything's staying, but you feel like you're moving. So that's why your body gets confused, and then that actually upsets your stomach as a result of that. So you have to use these specific medications for it. They really only work well if you take them about an hour before you experience the motion, because it takes a really long time to cross the blood-brain barrier and all that kind of fun, complicated stuff. And then if you're somebody that is very seasick and you've had experiences with it before with motion sickness, you could actually talk to your primary care provider about a medication called scopolamine, which is a prescription medication you do have to get. It's a patch that goes behind your ear. It's a transdermal medication. And it works for about 3 days once you put it on. So what you can do is you can go and you can get a prescription for scopolamine, get it, just throw a patch behind your ear, and you don't have to worry about it for the next 3 days.
Oh, so, awesome. So, see, isn't he smart? Oh, my gosh. And real quick, I want to say thank you so much. We got a hello from Italy. So you've officially brought in our farthest reaching viewer.
I will absolutely take credit for that.
Yes. It was all Austin. So thank you so much, Nunziante, for bringing watching a little bit of this. I hope you're still in here. So just wanted to shout that out. That's awesome. So that's really interesting to me. I don't get seasick, but Scott does. So I mean, we always have Dramamine with us because we kind of are preemptive about that. But based off of what you were saying, especially if you're going during like hurricane season and there's going to be the chance of bigger wake and seas and stuff, if you're on the ocean, might be a good idea to talk to your doctor and go ahead and get that medication before you even leave the ship or leave to go get on the ship. Now, another question I had is, I am the person that packs a million and one things and I don't need it. But if somebody gets on the ship, they don't have Tylenol, Tums, ibuprofen, something like that. Can they come to you if they have a headache or if they have any kind of gastrointestinal issues?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we would do is we would carry a whole slew of over-the-counter medications that we would be able to administer in the need that somebody would, have some sort of an illness like this. So what we would do is we would just take a look at them. We kind of give them the medications that we would have, which was pretty much the whole entire Walmart pharmacy section. Because I would take the general manager's credit card with permission, of course. I'm just watching this. And, I would basically just buy out the entire pharmacy's sections worth of, Pepto and Dramamine and Tylenol and all that fun stuff. So you can absolutely convert that. And then some of these boats also have full clinics on board where I would be able to do other things like, IV fluid administration, and we would have cardiac monitors, and we'd be able to do some pretty advanced things as well.
Right.
So you can absolutely come to us for any of those concerns.
Yeah, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but most of like your river cruises and your small cruise ships that are like less than 500 guests generally don't have that full-size medical clinic, correct? It's the larger ones.
It really depends. So
Okay.
I know that some river cruises do not have medical officers anymore.
Okay.
And then some of them have a full-on clinic that's capable of doing stitches and administering antibiotics. I remember there were actually boats that my company was contracting to that I was not eligible to work on because I'm not a critical care paramedic, and they were doing some pretty crazy things on the boat, like taking x-rays, administering antibiotics, and that was just one paramedic that was doing that the entire time. Usually when you go on an ocean liner, they'll have something more similar to an emergency room with like maybe one ICU room with a whole slew of nurses and doctors.
Right.
But due to the size of the ships, we don't have that. So it really just depends, but I would absolutely be talking to your travel agent. I would be in contact with people who are.
I can tell you exactly who it is if that is a concern for you. So just reach out to me later.
You can talk to them about what capabilities that they have on board if that's something that you're worried about.
Yeah, and we can talk about each individual ship as well, because obviously it's not only just the cruise line itself, but it's also the capability of each individual ship or riverboat. So we can definitely get into that. Now, say for instance, and from a riverboat standpoint, because that's pretty much what I'm wanting to cover this evening. Say I rolled my ankle and it's really sprained. I'm concerned I may have broken it. What can you do for me on that ship? On a riverboat ship?
So
general standard ship.
Kind of again. So it just goes back to each individual boat. Like I said, some of the boats that they have, some of the ones that Megan's been talking about, do have full X-ray capability. And do have the ability to administer like a lot of really heavy-duty medications to you. Generally, if I was in that circumstance, the boat that I was on, what I would do is I would just do my own evaluation, kind of get an idea of what was going on, and then I would kind of refer you either to a local emergency room or urgent care, kind of depending on where we were on the itinerary and what was closest. And so then what you would do, obviously, is you'd go, you'd have a normal hospital stay. And the nice thing about the river cruises is they're very itinerary centric, so you're always like close to things that you would need, like a Walgreens, a CVS for picking up prescriptions, hospitals, urgent cares. So I would send the patient out to them. They would come back to me. I would look at all the records, and then what I would do is I would kind of help them with whatever ailment that they had, and continue to help them enjoy their cruise as much as possible with whatever it is that's going on with them. So,
okay. So basically what you're saying, and I agree, all of these itineraries are very centric to different U.S. destinations. Like whether you're in Rhode Island or in Maine and stuff, you're going to be in not giant cities, but you're going to be in decent-sized cities that have good medical facilities. So basically, even if the ship that you are on doesn't necessarily have X-ray capabilities or certain medications on board because they just don't have the clinical staff to be able to give those, you're going to be very close to medical attention should you need it, correct?
Yeah, I almost kind of like to compare it to like a giant water road trip.
Okay.
Because you always have the option to kind of stop and get what's going, get whatever it is that you need wherever you're going. So.
Austin, you need to be closer to the mic so we can hear you. Oh my God, I've never heard that before. He's like my loudest friend.
I am a very loud person. I think maybe
I've never heard he's been quiet.
I think I was overcompensating.
You were overcompensating? Yeah. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Another question. So I am on a cruise ship, and I just realized that I didn't bring enough of my prescription medications. Can you help me?
So, yes. So even though I do not have the ability to write you a prescription or fill it, because we don't have a pharmacy on board, unfortunately, I left that back in Pennsylvania whenever I went to the cruise. But and this was actually a very common problem. A lot of people, they would get really stressed, trying to get back into. Okay, good. She said it was better.
Okay.
Getting ready for the cruise, you forget your prescription medication. It's usually really easy to fix. All you have to do is contact either your pharmacy where they have the prescription or your primary care provider and ask them to ship that prescription to one that is actually in the area that you are in. And I was very big in helping people with that. I would call the pharmacy for them, get the address. I would help them make the arrangements to ship that over. So it's not a huge deal.
Okay.
If that happens.
Okay, fantastic. Because that's always like in the back of my mind. I don't know how many times like Scott will have like one of his meds. He has stomach issues and stuff, so he's on pantoprazole, and he's it's like, oh, he's only got 2 pills left, and then we have to make sure that we get it in time. So that would be something I would do. So thank you for answering that for me. Now, this one. I'm always going to tell you to get insurance, okay? But from a medical standpoint, why should I get insurance for my cruise?
So, in terms of insurance,
I'm just going to sit back and listen and be like.
Okay. In terms of insurance regarding medicine, especially, it's not as important whenever you get onto the river cruises. Because a lot of them have everything all included, like Megan was talking about earlier, and that doesn't just include like the alcohol and the food. That includes, the medical provision too. Like me, for example, the boat that I was on, we never billed somebody for me coming to take a look at them. However,
exactly.
On ocean cruises, where they're a lot cheaper, you're getting on for like $800 or $1,000 per person as opposed to $6,000.
Yes.
They do not include these things. So I've heard of places, some cruise lines even charging up to like $250 just to do CPR. And the problem is that for some odd and strange reason, I can't explain it specifically. It's not covered by medical insurance.
Big pharma and insurance.
It is not covered a lot of it is not covered by your medical insurance.
Yes.
However, it is covered usually by travel insurance.
Yes.
So if you take the time to go and get travel insurance for these bigger cruise lines, not only is that covering you, God forbid something happens on the cruise and you're not able to continue, or if you have to cancel the cruise for whatever reason, but it also covers you medically, so that way you don't have a surprise medical bill while you're on the cruise itself.
Yes.
So definitely something to look into, and definitely something to be cognizant of, especially if you have some sort of a medical issue that you're concerned may affect your stay.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is that's an interesting point for me, because I never thought about the care that you guys actually give on the cruise ship itself being an extra charge. I always think about, oh my gosh, my client is on an excursion in the Bahamas and they broke their leg in 2 places and they can't set it there. They have to be flown back to the United States without their travel insurance. All of that comes out of pocket. Them being at the medical facility in the Bahamas, then having to pay to get flown out, which is generally a medical fly out. You're not getting on a commercial flight in order to get back to the States. You're going to be taken in some kind of a medical option. And then obviously once you get back to the States, then generally your own health insurance will kick in. But before that, your medical isn't going to cover any of that. That's why you need to have the travel insurance. Even with river cruises, I still really think it's a good idea, because it's an extra added protection. You don't know, say for instance, you have a cardiac development, or something happens while you're on the ship and then you have to take an ambulance to a local hospital or something. It's a nice peace of mind to have that extra travel insurance in the event that the plans that you have do not cover everything.
Yeah. Also, if for some odd strange reason you do have a medical issue that prevents you from continuing the cruise, I do believe that you will be reimbursed for the days that you do not or are unable to participate as well. Because I have had patients that I have seen on the boat. There was actually one that I remember in specific. She had a respiratory issue and I wasn't able to manage her. So I sent her out to the local emergency room, and she was flown back home to Alabama, all the way from Maine. And she was not able to continue the cruise for the rest of the time. So I'm sure if she had travel insurance or something like that, she was all set.
Yes.
If not, that's just kind of however many days that you lose on that boat
yes.
that you kind of paid for and don't get to enjoy.
Exactly. So again, I'm always going to tell you, yes, you need to get travel insurance. That's not just an upsell on my part. You're hearing it from a medical officer of, hey, just spend the couple of extra dollars and make sure that you're covered.
And I don't get any money out of it, unfortunately. So,
I wish I could give them a kickback, but it doesn't work that way.
I wish you could too, but I'm doing this out of the
Yes.
ingenuity of
Yes.
the commission.
Yes, he's a very good friend, and he's helping us out and giving us tons of good information. Now, something else I read when I was doing my research, and I'd heard it like in the back of my head before, but again, I'm kind of getting back into the whole cruising thing with COVID. So, is it true that infections spread easier on ships than they do at home? I'm thinking specifically like the norovirus, respiratory infections, things like that.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a complicated answer.
Okay.
So the easy answer I will say is yes, but it's not necessarily because you're on a boat. It's not necessarily because you're on a cruise specifically. It's just anytime you have a large group of people together in one confined space,
Yes.
any type of contagious illness is going to kind of thrive. I've had a lot of my colleagues describe boats as like floating petri dishes.
Yes.
I don't really like to call them that, but it
in
does
some
in a
way, yes, they are.
It is, yes. But I will say that part of my training and part of what we were there for on the boat was disease management. That's one of the really cool aspects of medicine that I never really got to learn about being a paramedic, is managing illnesses in a larger capacity. So we had very strict protocols on how to handle things like COVID and even influenza and basic things that aren't like COVID. We got like the second that monkeypox became a thing, I got every single article that was ever written about it like a week after it came out, and I was probably one of the first people to even know about it because I was on the boat at that time. And so we had already talked about what to do if that becomes an issue on the boats. We talked about quarantining procedures. We would do COVID testing for anybody that requested it, anybody that was symptomatic, and for a while we were doing COVID testing pre-embarkation before you even got onto the boat. That wasn't very popular with a lot of the guests, so we kind of
as soon as the CDC was like, hey, you don't have to do it anymore, a lot of the cruise ships nixed that. Hi David, thanks for joining us up there on Facebook. So now, speaking of COVID, since you brought it up, we're actually not going to talk about it a whole lot, and the only reason being is since the CDC has kind of loosen their guidelines on what individual cruise lines need to do, things are all over the place. So like for instance, Disney Cruise Lines, still, if you're 5 years or younger, you don't have to be COVID vaccinated, but after a certain point, and I don't remember the date off the top of my head because I didn't write it down in my notes. If they're 12 and under, they're not going to have to be vaccinated, but your adults still do. So, and these are changing so much and so fast that I don't want to tell you guys something tonight and then they're going to completely change everything up on us again tomorrow. So that's the only reason why, even though I have somebody that is in the medical field with cruising, we're not going to talk about it because it's going to be different tomorrow. Yeah,
I think it does have a really good point with that. We would go to meetings on a daily basis specifically for our officers, and I remember we were changing policies on a daily or almost weekly basis. So that is very correct.
Yeah, and it's the nature of this particular disease. So whenever you guys have questions, once you book a trip with me, anytime there's any changes and stuff, I send those straight out to you so that you are as up to date as possible with what the current guidelines are. Okay. Another one, and this was something I didn't think about, but you started laughing as soon as you read it. Should I worry about mosquitoes?
Yes. Yes, you should worry about mosquitoes. Oh my God, they're horrible.
Yes, probably.
Yeah, but, absolutely. So, the worst stop for me specifically was a place called Bath, Maine. It was a small town, obviously, in Maine, where we would stop to go see some things like Bath Iron Works, where they built a lot of warships and a couple of other museums.
That'd be cool.
It was very cool, very exciting to do. I saw the biggest mosquitoes that I've ever seen in my entire life. I swear to God.
He hasn't been to Chickatee with us yet, so.
The biggest mosquitoes that I've ever seen, the size of my hand, I swear. And actually, I remember one day it was so bad, I went out and I bought bug spray, and I was wearing this, obviously. This was what I was required to wear. And I sprayed myself down with bug spray, everything that was exposed. So my neck, my face,
mistake.
My hands, my arms, and I actually got bit the most on my legs because these things were just so big. What they would do is they would sit on your legs, they would like poke through my scrubs. I was so mad. But one of the nice things that you can do is if you do get a lot of bug bites and stuff like that, one thing you can kind of do to alleviate that is go see your medical officer. And what I would do for people or myself, because it was a bigger issue for me than anyone else, I swear.
He must be extra sweet.
Yeah. is I would actually use over-the-counter Benadryl, diphenhydramine, 25 to 50 milligrams. Not only is it good for allergies, but it's fantastic for bug bites because it's the same kind of histamine response. Whenever you have that kind of a contact to your skin, and it would alleviate it, no problem. I also do it for vaccines. Anytime I get a shot and it's itchy.
I'm going to have to remember that next time because I'm due for my flu shot, and so I'll have to remember. For some reason, why does a flu shot always hurt?
That's good.
So that is for another night. Now, another thing, what was the most common thing that you treated? And I stumped him on this one, so.
She did. So I really had to think of this. I actually think that the most common thing that I treated on the boat was falls. People would fall all the time.
Yeah.
Me being one of them. I did not do well in waves, trust me. I'll save you, and then I fall.
Yep. That seems very Austin-esque.
So falls were pretty common. I would treat a lot of motion sickness, obviously, as I'm sure that you could imagine. Just basic things like headaches, non-traumatic pain, ibuprofen, Tylenol, aspirin, whatever I had available. Burns was fairly common.
Really?
Burns? I had a very clumsy kitchen staff.
Oh, okay.
And I'm pretty sure we heated our coffee the same temperature that McDonald's did.
Oh my gosh.
I got sued.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Burns all the time. Coffee burns would be like, "Hey, Austin, I burned myself again." And then one day I burned myself because someone was trying to talk to me, and I was filling up a cup of hot water for tea, and I turned and I was like, "What are you?" And then right under, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. I wouldn't have thought about burns, but it makes total sense. So awesome. Well, did you have any other medical tidbits that you wanted to share with all of us?
Nothing in particular. I would say just don't let fears of COVID and other illnesses stop you from going on a cruise. We
apologize, Leo's mad.
We are very proactive about health and safety on the boat and a number of aspects. We're there for any kinds of questions that you have.
Yeah.
As always, I would just always recommend, if that is a concern of yours, just be wearing a mask, and 95s are preferable.
Yeah.
But no, generally
hand sanitizing and things like that as well.
For sure, hand washing. But no, we are generally available to answer any questions that you guys have on the boat, and kind of make sure that you guys are as comfortable and as happy as possible.
Yep.
So.
And I will say also, even before the pandemic, but the cleaning processes that these ships go through in order to make sure that they are as clean as they can possibly be, way better than what you're going to find in an average U.S. hotel or a convention center, any other large place where you're going to have a bunch of people. So if that's a concern, don't let it be, because you're going to be in good hands as far as the cleanliness goes, as well as the sanitation and everything else that they do in order to help protect you. So, okay. I don't have any other medical questions because I'm bad, but I'm glad that this actually gave us a few minutes, because I've cruised before. I've done a lot of going to the Bahamas, Cozumel, Puerto Maya, places like that that's in the Caribbean, Mexico. But I've never done a river cruise. And so I'm curious, what was your favorite port that you got to go to?
Okay, so my favorite port, so the itinerary that I did the most was a New England itinerary where we stopped in Rhode Island, Maine, Massachusetts. We went to places like Martha's Vineyard. We went to Booth Bay, Maine, which is an incredible place to go to.
Cool.
They have peanut butter Laffy Taffy. Not Laffy Taffy, saltwater taffy. Absolutely incredible. I shipped it back.
There you go.
For my dad and my stepmom, and whenever I got home, I hid it from them in their own house. So every time I go over, I know where to find it.
There's a classic Austin move right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, she knows me very well. But I think my favorite place to go was Provincetown, Massachusetts.
Really?
Yeah, so Provincetown is the first place that the Pilgrims landed whenever they got to the United States. And they were like, this place sucks. Screw this. Because there's no fresh water around. It's really just the ocean. So they ended up moving to wherever it is. I'm a science guy, not history. So the Provincetown has become a very big cultural center. It's a very, very Portuguese influence, which was very surprising to me. There's actually a Portuguese bakery in Provincetown that I come to find out was owned by the I have there's another medic that works at one of the stations around us, and her dad's cousin owns it.
Really?
Yeah, very, very surprised to find that out. But huge for art. Every third or fourth building is an art studio. The beaches in Provincetown are beautiful. It's a huge party city, which is my kind of a thing. The oceans are fantastic. It's teeming with like American wildlife that you would never think about. There was actually this one seal who lived in the Provincetown Bay. His name was Jack. I didn't name him that. I wish I did. But the fisherman did, because he would
I remember seeing him in your stories and stuff, and you were trying to take him home.
They went. The only reason I didn't was because he was 900 pounds, and he probably would have sank the boat. But the fisherman would always.
Because he probably would have gotten on the boat if he'd been allowed.
Yeah, but Provincetown absolutely is my favorite. But all of it was really cool. One of the cool things about river cruises, and this was something that my grandmother had told me before she passed, was she said that she thought it was very important to see as much of the United States as you can before you go out and travel internationally. So that's kind of something
I agree.
I wanted to stick with. But going on these river cruises, especially the one that I did, just felt so authentically American in a way that like I can't really describe. Like you'd be sailing down the Kennebec River and you'd see a bunch of river seals and then a bald eagle flying across. And our guest speaker was talking about the American Revolution. And we would go to Boston, we would tour the city, and we would see all these different places, like where Paul Revere was. And
oh my gosh,
it's
really incredible.
Cool. Yeah, the views are fantastic. The foliage is gorgeous. New England is an incredible place overall.
Yeah, and like me personally, I mean, I've only scratched the surface. I mean, I've been into Rhode Island, but I haven't gone any further up. Going to Maine has always been one of like big bucket list items, and now I'm like, I don't even care if I drive it. Like, I want to do this New England tour because it's incredible. The stories that you've had and the stories, the photos he put up. Oh my gosh. If I could have fit in a suitcase, I would have.
Yeah.
I know I'm not the only one. So absolutely incredible. And like I said, with river cruising, it's not just New England. It's not just Mississippi. Because I know a lot of people, they hear river cruising and they're like, oh, I don't want to go from St. Louis down to New Orleans. I'm like, well, first off, you're crazy. I would love to do that. But there's plenty of other options for you. You can do the Snake River. You can go out west into Portland. There's all kinds of like Alaskan type cruises that are more river cruise, smaller base like this. So you get a more intimate experience. And I'm really excited for when he gets his next contract because I'm curious where he's going to end up next.
Oh, you'll get all the pictures.
I know. I'm
so
super
I
excited.
Actually, on my boat, obviously, a lot of the employees that had worked for the company had been rotated around to a lot of different boats, whether that was on the Mississippi, down in Florida, up in Maine. But the most popular place, at least with the crew members that I have heard, and actually a lot of the guests who had taken cruises with us before had kind of voiced this as well. One of their all-time favorite places to go was the Columbia and Snake Rivers. And I haven't seen too much of them. I don't know a lot of that information, but from what I've heard, it was just absolutely gorgeous. Waterfalls everywhere, beautiful foliage. Just sounded like a lot a fun, but I haven't experienced
and
it.
You've never been out west before,
so I've been to Ohio. I don't know if that counts.
No, it does not count. Chicago doesn't count.
I haven't even been to Chicago.
We need to get this boy out more. So, but no, it definitely once you go out west, it's definitely kind of like being on an alien planet. Everything is very different. Christopher happens to still be in here. He's actually currently in Las Vegas right now for work. And he called me and he goes, as soon as he landed, he goes, oh my God. He goes, I had no idea how pretty it was out here. And he goes, I didn't believe you. And he's just absolutely in awe with the desert out that way. So if you haven't done so already, like, doing these river cruises seems like an amazing way to be able to see the country. So super, super excited about that. And can't wait to hear more from you when you get the opportunity.
Can't wait to get the experiences to tell you about.
So he's definitely living the dream. I mean, he absolutely loves what he does. He wouldn't have come on here tonight if he didn't. And getting to pick his brain a little bit and him getting to also travel while he does what he loves. That's the dream. So Well, I think that's pretty much everything I had for this evening. Probably going to wrap this up a little bit early because, like I said, it has been one of those days, actually one of those weekends. I'm counting Monday as the weekend at this point because, oh, so poor Austin,
That's bad.
having to listen to me in my rambles and stuff via text and by phone call as things had happened over the weekend. So thank you for putting up with me for that.
You're welcome. For one night.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that like button up on our Facebook page, and also hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel and that bell notification button so that you know when I upload new videos. I'm actually planning on uploading 2 new videos this week that are going to be showcasing the restaurants of Chincoteague, Virginia. We did a pizza shop contest to see which one had better pizza. That one is done. It just needs to be uploaded. So you'll probably see that in the next couple of days. And then we also went and did our favorite restaurant, which is Steamers. Later, Megan Austin. Thanks, Dad. Steamers is one of our favorite restaurants in Chincoteague, and we were able to do a really cool video of our time there. So make sure you check that out. And then next week, I will be doing a video of the, I apologize, bear with me, of the Wright Memorial that is in Nags Head, North Carolina, or Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. I don't want to get that wrong. I'll get in trouble by Scott. So, anyway, if you guys liked this, again, please like and follow both pages. I really appreciate it. If you are interested in doing any travel, definitely reach out to me. I am more than happy to set up time to talk to you guys, and get you guys quotes and stuff so that we can get you guys booked and enjoying your own amazing vacations. And I hope that this was helpful for you guys. So as always, are you guys ready for your next Plum Crazy adventure? Because I'm ready to get you there. Have a good night. And thanks, Austin, for joining us.